talk about the fight on the weekend. Undisputed super middleweight belts on the line. Canelo comfortably beating Jermell Charlo, and I was thoroughly disappointed with Jermell Charlo. All the talk from him in the last few years. I mean, he's been releasing Instagram posts saying Canelo's easy work. You know, I knew it was all a bit too much for him from the first press conference when I didn't see that lions in the camp energy from him. And in the end, he just fought on the back foot. He had his running shoes on, couldn't dent Canelo, picked up his 10 million, on to the next.
Well, I think it's a very, very fair and crushing analysis, really. I do agree with you, and I think one of the things, I don't know if you and I spoke about it last week, but certainly one of the things that I thought about it going into it was how Jermell Charlo was going to bear up in a very big occasion that he hadn't really been in before. I think he was overawed by Canelo himself, not necessarily, and the size of a Canelo event. And Canelo was at his very best and never allowed him out of the box. Charlo very rarely, certainly in the opening rounds, didn't get Canelo's respect to the point where Canelo was able to generally walk him down and do that loading up of big shots. And therefore, if you keep hitting the jack back into the box, he's not going to have an opportunity to spring out again. And Canelo did it round after round after round. And if you think back, Addy, and I watched it live, I stayed up for it, I was very excited about it, because I thought we were going to get some exchanges. I think there were only about 3 or 4 tiny actual exchanges between the two men during those 36 minutes.
Yeah, there was, and it wasn't Canelo's fault. I mean, look, he was on the front foot from the very first round, which is quite rare for Canelo. He likes to kind of have a feel-out round of the first one, but he went very aggressive early. He wanted to hurt Jermell. He wanted to send a statement to the division and say, look, I'm still here, because there have been those, including myself, that have questioned whether or not he's on the slide a little bit, because last time out against John Ryder, it wasn't great. Obviously, Golovkin, Bivol, but he didn't have an opponent who wanted to make a fight of it. And it was very disappointing. I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Like, you're fighting Canelo to become undisputed super middleweight champion. All the eyes of the world are on you. It's a packed T-Mobile Arena. Stephen Espinoza continually tells us, you know, the gate's gone over 20 million. People have paid big money to come all over the world there and pay for thousands of pounds for ringside tickets for that.
Jermell Charlo is an undisputed champion at 154 pounds, but Canelo is a great. Yeah, and he's a modern great.
That's the difference.
There's a difference between them. There's a difference in levels. We talked about it with Thompson and Opataya. There's a difference in levels between where Jermell Charlo is and where Saul Canelo Alvarez is. And you could tell from Derek James, also Anthony Joshua's trainer, we believe, while he's treading more to a Ben Davison, we're also hearing at the moment, Joshua, which is an interesting point. While Derek James involved with Charlo, he was imploring him in the corner, let your hands go. What are you doing? You are 6 rounds down after 6 rounds. You need to fight him. You are losing the fight. Derek James was on the money. They had not figured that Canelo... It was a very, very dominant performance. I can't describe any other way than if you have someone up against a wall and you are battering them, and their basically Charlo's brain was saying defend yourself. Yeah. It wasn't saying attack Canelo because of Canelo's timing and his obduracy and persistence in being bullish and not allowing Charlo. He wanted Charlo to open up, by the way. And if Charlo had opened up, I think he'd have been stopped. Yeah. Because obviously he took a knee at one point. What was it, the 7th?
He did. It was the 7th round. It was the 7th. And you are correct, the point you make. I mean, Charlo, I'm going to give him a little credit here. There was a couple of times in that fight where he landed clean on Canelo's chin and nothing. And he's probably
thinking, 1-2, boom, 1-2 a couple of times and nothing.
And he's probably thinking at 154 pounds, the guys either back off or they go down. Canelo just kept on coming forward. And you can imagine if you're a fighter, you're breathing heavy and you've landed your best 1-2 and the person in front of you has just ate it like it's from a flyweight.
But Charlo, absolutely. But you've got to commend, where you can commend Charlo, like you say, you're not wrong to critique him and be disappointed in the fact that he didn't take the opportunity we wanted him to take. His body and the fella in front of him would not allow him. He's too great. But, you know, what you have got to commend is just how tough he is. He took a lot of big shots.
Good shout. Good shout. He did.
Yeah.
He
Particularly
did.
to the body. Those arcing left hooks that Canelo throws. And, you know, whoa.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he must be peeing blood because those were vicious body shots. All right, let's park that. Let's remove that from our brains because it wasn't one of the best fights of the year, and I thought it was going to be. In terms of what next now for Canelo, right? Because at least one thing we know of Canelo, while we've got to applaud him, is that he will give you September, May, guaranteed. Yeah. So we know Cinco de Mayo's coming. He's going to fight someone. Who do you think it's going to be?
Well, if Dimitri Bivol is still the champion, I think, the WBA light heavyweight champion, I think it'll be him. If that doesn't work, and that's a very viable fight, the big one is David Benavidez, who's obviously the WBC, what is he, interim champion or something?
Yeah, WBC interim,
Interim champion, who really provides the greatest matchup for Canelo since Gennady Golovkin in the second fight. Because Benavidez is tall, upright, tenacious, powerful, throws his hands, only knows to come forward, and is going to be a challenge for Canelo. And it'll be similar to the Caleb Plant fight, which was really his last kind of exciting fight in many ways. Exciting fight because he was outboxed by Bivol when he lost, obviously, at light heavyweight. Because that's the fight. That's the Mexican super fight for me. So if they can get that done in May, but there seems to be a reluctance. I don't think Canelo fears anyone, but he's maybe an end of the route opponent. What has he just had? His 65th fight?
I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I think he's only got 3 or 4 left. I reckon he'll fight, like you say, May and September for the next 2 years. And that's probably the end of him up to 35, I'd say. But Benavidez or Dimitri Bivol or Chris Eubank Jr. over here.
I would love it. And I would.
That would be big, wouldn't it?
That'd be massive because Chris will sell it. Chris will sell that fight.
He would, and you know how we moan, and everyone would want Canelo to give him a drubbing over here because Canelo's really popular. But if Chris was to produce a classic, people would love him in the way maybe that mirrored the 2 fights his dad had, or the fight his dad had with Calzaghe. That kind of made him popular even though he lost.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think it'd be fantastic. I think it does the stadium over here. I think Canelo will be surprised by the amount of fans he has in this country that will just want to see that fight. And Eubank, honestly, Eubank would fight a lot better than Jamel Charlo. It would have a go at least. Could get knocked out, but have a go. One name you didn't mention very quickly, Gareth, was Terence Crawford. Obviously, Terence Crawford has spoken about, I'll go up and it's a lot of weight, 21 pounds. But can you see anything in the future where we get to see Bud versus Canelo? Is it just a pipe dream or can you actually see it?
It's a big step, like welterweight to super middleweight.
Massive step.
21 pounds, 147. So you're talking 10 stone 7 to 12 stone, basically. That is a big size difference in a man. Obviously, easily, Terence Crawford could walk around at 12 stone, if he wasn't living like a warrior. Canelo's not the tallest. Crawford's incredibly skillful. Again, I'm so glad you mentioned that because it slipped out of my mind and I have spoken about it since. When you see it now, it doesn't look practical. But if the money got on the table and the defensive and range and timing skills of Terence Crawford, I still think it's a weight division too far for him. Given that Canelo holds his own at light heavy as well, and he's a thick-set man. There's a part of me that still would love to see it.
Yeah, take my money.
And I think Crawford gives him some issues technically in boxing skills, but whether it's a step too far, if the money's right and the timing's right and the egos are right, I think it happens.